Hey everyone! Welcome back to the Uno Amalgam series, the series where I'm making a game, and games need art, so if I'm making a game, I therefore need to make art as well. Crazy, I know. I knew from the start of this project that if I was actually going to make this game physical, I would have to make my own original artwork to replace the stuff from 892 different Uno versions. It's a daunting task for sure, but one I already have a good start on. I'll get more into that in a second, but first, let's do some clarifying. It's clarification time. The most common comment I got in the last video was addressing an issue with one of my card condensing methods from last episode. For the most part, it seems like you all liked my ideas for card condensing, and that's great, because I've already started work on that. The method people found an issue with is my combining sets of numbers with sets of symbols method. It was pointed out to me that if a complete set of symbols were all placed on the same number, the number itself would lose its most prominent feature, that being its ability to match with other cards containing the same number. Like, if every 62 number card had a skip everyone symbol, then it would effectively just be the colors and symbols that would be doing the matching. Of course, the numbers would still be viable on things like warlike mechanics, but removing the main purpose of some numbers is a big no-no in my eyes. So here's my solution to this problem. By taking multiple sets of symbols that are planned to be placed on number cards and numbers themselves, and scrambling them in a semi-random fashion, and then combining them as I described last episode, the numbers would regain their previous functionality, because not every instance of a symbol would be on the same number. It's a simple solution, but it's quite effective, and it would maintain the desired effect of condensing 5 physical cards per symbol combined with numbers. That all being said, I heard you all loud and clear. It seems the people who value effectless number cards far outnumber those who deem the effectless number cards too boring. I agree that effectless number cards are important for the flow of the game, which is why, like I said in the last episode, this condensing method will be used in moderation, and there will be an abundance of number cards with no symbols in the final game. I'm trying to use my condensing methods in a way that represents the best of both worlds when it comes to what people want to see from this game. I'm doing a little bit of both major condensing methods so I can make as many people happy as possible. I think the current condensing setup with the fixes implemented is the best form of that, so that's what I'll be sticking with going forward. So, there have been a lot of people asking about Uno Teams, Uno Show 'em No Mercy Deadpool, Uno Elite, which is like a whole new game, holy crap, Uno Beetlejuice, blah blah blah. There are more Uno versions on the way as well. Luke, when are you going to add these to the Amalgam? I don't know how many times I've said this in previous episodes, but the Phase 1 finale was the cutoff point for new Uno versions. If you want to see these new Uno versions make it into the Amalgam will have to be successful enough to warrant expansions, because that's where a lot of these will end up going. I do have a list of all of the new stuff that's been revealed, and I think the only way they could make it into the base game of Chemicards at this point would be if their mechanics were so built into the existing mechanics they wouldn't be able to function separately as an expansion, and this would force me to add them, kinda. Currently, it seems like both Uno Teams and Uno Elite fall into this category, so rejoice. I'll probably be adding those two in a later episode of Phase 2, but all of that other stuff is getting saved for potential expansions or Tabletop Simulator version updates at least. Deal with it. Speaking of expansions, I've received a few questions about those as well. If Chemicards is successful enough to receive expansions, here are the various packs in order of priority that I would want to create and add. The first would be the new, future, found Uno versions like Uno Show 'em No Mercy Deadpool, etc. The second would be unreleased Uno cards or versions like Uno's funny social media posts. Third would be cameos like 5 Alive and Phase 10 Flip. Fourth would be unofficial Uno versions like Uno Infinity and Loc Official. I would need the creator's permission to do this one, of course. And finally, fifth are the fan-made cards like the ones you guys have been suggesting in the Discord server. This is all to say the official stuff will be taking priority when it comes to expansions. It's nothing against you guys, but why even think about this? Because Chemicards needs to be successful first. Will there be a Kickstarter? Yes. I'll tell you more about that when Chemicards is actually ready for a Kickstarter near the end of Phase 2. For those of you wondering, I currently have 9 or 10 Uno versions on a new list that hopefully includes every new Uno version I haven't haven't covered in Phase 1, so that could be a fun bonus episode or something down the line. I say 9 or 10 though because I can't tell if one of them is real or not. Mini Uno Bullseye. Does anyone know if this thing is actually official or not? It sure looks official to me, but there's hardly any info about it on the web right now, and it strikes me as odd that a major spin-off of Uno would get a mini version before a full-sized one. On top of that, Mattel has been using Pocket to describe smaller Uno decks in recent times, so this is kinda sus. It could be an elaborate hoax. Let me know if you have any info on this version in the comments. One last thing, I noticed a lot of you are watching Markiplier, Bob, and Wade play the new Uno Party Mania DLC for Ubisoft Uno, and have been requesting I add Uno Party Mania to the Amalgam. But guess what? I already eliminated that one a couple episodes ago. It's pretty much a carbon copy of its physical counterpart, which I added way earlier in the series. So no worries guys, it's already added. Hey, speaking of eliminations, clarification time over. Now it's elimination time. It baffles me. It really does. The Uno well truly has not run dry. Here are the eliminations for this episode. Uno Flip Minute, Uno Pocket Kinder Nutella, Uno Pocket Popeyes, Uno Pocket Font Vella Le Heron, Uno Impulse, Uno Whiz, Uno Rummy, Uno Pocket E. Leclerc, Uno Pocket Santa Maria, Uno Pocket Rifacine, Uno Pocket Casio, Uno Pocket Nivea Sun, Uno Pocket Nivea White, Uno Pocket Lay's, Uno Pocket Barbie Natura Verde, Uno Pocket Barbie Supradin, Uno Pocket Walcor, Uno X Keiichi Tanami, Uno Burger King 2015, and Uno Imaginarium Edition. I cannot believe that another 20 Uno versions got eliminated post-Phase 1 in a single episode. That means the total number of Uno versions represented in the Amalgam is currently 912. We are into the 900s now, in Phase 2. I honestly didn't think this would happen. Thanks for continuing the Uno hunt, y'all. I appreciate it. With all that out of the way, let's talk about card art. Card art is a very important part of any game, but I'm sure you already knew that. Artwork is what introduces players to your game as they look at the box, and artwork plays a decent-sized role in making a game appealing. I believe the most important piece of art in a game like this is the card art for the cards in the main draw pile, simply because that's the card type players will be looking at the most. From a development standpoint, these cards also make up a large majority of the game components, and if I want to start working on actually making them, I really need to get some card art made. But then I ran into a little snag that ate up about a week of my time. What do these main draw pile cards need to convey? What information needs to be on them, and how can I make it all fit together while also looking nice? That answer is very complex, so allow me to walk you through all of the attributes a normal draw pile card could have. Once all of the pieces have been assembled, I can jigsaw them together to form a complete picture. Let's start with an attribute you may not have expected: card name. I've already taken the liberty of renaming all of the different effects in the game with the rebrand, and while all of the effects will be named in the rulebook no matter what, I thought it would help with both identification, aesthetics, and also overall character if the cards had names. That being said, not every card will have a name, only cards with symbols will, and their name will match their symbol. It's like if the reverse card from Uno had the word reverse on it, if that makes sense. This attribute also has a side effect of making the game feel more like a TCG like Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is pretty fitting, honestly. The second attribute is number. Hey, I know this guy, he's one of Uno's boys. The three main attributes from Uno are used very frequently in this game, and because of this, they will be given more card space when compared to the other attributes. The number needs to be prominent, and it needs to have enough card space to support a number that's 4 characters long, because currently the number in Chemicards with the most characters is 9.75. Additionally, thanks to Uno Left Hand, I don't even need to think about where the number will be placed on the card. It's going in the top right corner, because that's where it got moved to in Uno Left Hand. Next is color, another one of the big 3 attributes. Color is just as important as number, so it should get just as much space, if not more. Additionally, there needs to be space for the accompanying color blindness symbol. Yeah, instead of doing the triangle thing like Uno Flex did, I'm choosing to do something similar to more modern Uno by using unique symbols to represent the different colors. More on that later. Not only that, occupying that same space could be the wild symbol. And since the wild symbol can have up to 4 colors in it, there needs to be space for 4 color blindness symbols. But let's not forget that double colors exist, so there could also be up to 2 colors without the wild symbol being present, along with their color blindness symbols. Any of these color-related things I've described could occupy the same space on the card, depending on the card. This isn't even the half of it. Up next is the symbol attribute, the final of the main 3 attributes. This one is most certainly the culprit for taking up the most space on the card as well, because like I said, the card will be named after its symbol. Of course, if a card doesn't have a symbol, all of that space is freed up for other stuff. So anyways, the symbol will have its name, and it will have its own unique artwork. I've already made over 300 unique symbols in my pixel art style, which will be directly imported onto the cards once the card itself is ready. You'll definitely be seeing a few this episode. Additionally, each symbol will have an effect number which links back to the rulebook for easy clarifications, and it also plays into a couple effects. It's just a good way to categorize the madness as well. Each symbol will also get a large chunk of the card where its effect description will go. This will describe what the symbol actually does, so you don't have to refer to the rulebook every time you play one of the hundreds of effects. You're welcome. Dang, this really is starting to look like a TCG. One more thing symbols may need is a color-exclusive effect designation. Some effects are color-exclusive, and I want that to be clear when you're playing the game, so there will be an additional something on the card that indicates if the main symbol is color-exclusive or not. Next up on the attribute list is modifiers. Currently, the maximum amount of modifiers a card can have is 3. Hopefully that will get reduced to 2 once the modifiers get spread out across numbers, because 3 is really pushing it. Modifiers will also have their own unique artwork, but they'll be noticeably smaller than the card's main symbol. They'll also have their own designated space for effect descriptions and effect numbers. You thought this card was cramped? Well, you're not ready for flex attributes. As I discussed in the last episode, flex effects are abundant, so cards will need space for a potential flex symbol, flex color blindness symbol, flex effect number, and flex effect descriptions. Be thankful flex sides can't have modifiers, okay? And I believe that's everything? If I missed an attribute, feel free to let me know in the comments. I do miss things all the time. Before I move on though, I thought I should mention some of the things you all have suggested in the comments that I would consider extra card attributes. Some of you thought card type should be represented on the card somehow. For example, it could be indicated if a card's effect activated on draw or on play, things like that. I feel like this would be distinguished better using the game language over card art, so I'll be talking about this topic in a later video. Some other ideas people brought up were complexity, rarity, and power level. I'm not sure rarity will be necessary at all, considering most cards in the game will be unique. Even the second copy of some number cards have a high chance of having different modifiers. Complexity is something I'm not sure is entirely necessary either. I feel like a card's complexity could be judged at face value rather simply by looking at how much text it has on it. Power level is a definite maybe though, so I'll keep that in mind. It may be too complex of a system considering it would have to rank a card per effect on it, so I don't know. I like the idea though. Okay, with all of that said and all of the attributes gathered, I took the time to make the pixel art for the main draw pile card art. It took me a while to figure out where I wanted each attribute to go, and also getting a style I liked. Art takes time. I created a messy example card that's meant to show how all of the attributes work, and it is by all means just an example card that would be completely impossible to encounter in normal gameplay. So yeah, don't be shocked I guess. Anyway, without further ado, here is my example card. As you can see, there is a lot of information to take in here. I hope it's starting to set in how much information cards will be able to have in this game now. Let's start at the top. The first thing you'll probably notice is the color. This is a yellow card, and because of that it has yellow slime covering a lot of the surface area on the card so you don't miss that. Obviously this can be replaced with any of the other 9 colors quite easily. In the top right we have the number. I put 9.75 here just to show this space can easily fit a 4-character long number, and it should have no trouble fitting any other number in the game because of that. In the top left, we have a wild symbol, even though this isn't a wild card, mainly because I just wanted to show you how the wild symbol will look, while also demonstrating how it fits onto the card. Within the wild symbol are 4 examples of my color symbols, which will be doubling as my color blindness support symbols. In fact, while we're here, I might as well show you all 10 color symbols. Here they are. These 10 symbols represent the 10 colors, and each feature a shape which is made visible via color shading to aid in distinguishing colors, especially to those who are colorblind. At least that's what I hope they do. I'm not colorblind, so I'm not too sure. I wanted to make sure all of the shapes in these symbols were distinct from each other. Each of these color symbols also maintains the science lab theme Chemicards is going for. Pink is simply chemical. Because this Erlenmeyer flask is pink, this also doubles as a reference to the scientist from Massicards. Purple is poison, represented with a skull, much like in The Emperor's New Groove. Blue is frozen, or cryo studies, represented by a snowflake. Green is acid. The bubbles that represent the acid in the art are a silly reference to Batman Forever. If you know, you know. Yellow is charged, or electricity, or energy, or battery, however you want to interpret it. Orange is the body, represented by a tooth. I personally think of orange as bone marrow, though. Red is flammable. It's fire. Brown is minerals, and it is also a reference to both Minecraft and Terraria simultaneously. Gray is circuitry. I personally refer to it as Cybergrid to reference the obscure racing realm in the Hot Wheels Acceleracers card game. And finally, white is lunar, represented by a tiny image of the moon. Anyways, for each wild symbol present in the game, there will be 4 of these color symbols randomly placed in the 4 segments of the hazard diamond shape. When there is no wild symbol and the card is just a color card, only one of these symbols will be placed in the top left corner of the card, and the wild symbol itself will be gone. If the card is a double color, there will simply be 2 color symbols and the card's main color area will be evenly split amongst those 2 colors. Next up is the symbol. It's placed near the center of the card because it is very important. This particular symbol is my version of the Draw 4 symbol. To the left of the symbol is a smaller screen that gives you the first glimpse into my new terminology I've been making. This screen can either read mixed or contained. If it's mixed, that means this symbol isn't color exclusive. If it's contained, that means it is color exclusive. To the right of the symbol is another small screen which displays the effect number. This isn't the actual effect number of this symbol, I just wanted to demonstrate that this large number can fit here just fine. Just below the symbol is the name of the symbol and therefore the card. Yet another glimpse into my terminology, draw has been replaced with gather. Moving on to the bottom half of the card, this space is reserved almost entirely for effect descriptions. The idea is that these effects activate from top to bottom depending on what they are. Starting at the top of the text box, there's the Gather 4 effect itself. I plan to use the word trigger as a keyword to replace the when you play this card string of text that's commonly found in effects. Words that are underlined will have an accompanying section in the final rulebook's glossary so you can read up on any words you aren't familiar with. Below the main effect is the modifier. The way I'm imagining it, if a card has 1 or more symbols, those activate first from highest on the card to lowest, and then the modifiers do the same. This card has only 1 modifier, so the symbol would activate first and then the modifier. This modifier is the ultimate symbol 1, by the way, hence why it instructs you to use your character power. Additionally, at the end of the modifier's description, there's a number there. That's its effect number. All effects that aren't the main symbol effect will have their effect number listed in their description. Lastly on the card we have the flex stuff. Flex as a concept has been renamed to scramble, and the reason why is actually lore related. Time for a lore tangent. As I mentioned when I was first making characters for Chemicards way back in the day, some of these characters are old characters I made for homebrew D&D games. My buddy Jacob ran essentially all of them. The longest running game, which is still going to this day, is simply titled The Multiverse, and that's the game Dr. Disaster, Rose Zaster, Professor Armageddon, and Vacuum Bot originate from. In the Multiverse, essentially anything can be categorized and labeled with an ID thanks to hyper-advanced technology introduced by my friend Bailey's character named Freya. Anyway, my idea with the word scrambling is that you are choosing an object, or in this case, an effect present in the game, and scrambling its multiversal ID to a different number, which results in you now playing a different effect. All this to say, that's why flexing a card is now called scrambling a card. Scramble effects, just like an Uno Flex, only become active if you scramble the card in question, and some cards can't be scrambled. If you do scramble a card, you also change its color if not its effect, and that's what this glitchy thing is in the bottom right of the card. A different color from the main color of the card with the accompanying color symbol, so you know what color you're scrambling to if you scramble a card. The 3 effects I've chosen to include on this card are very simple in comparison to some other effects present in the game, but because I'm choosing to use my font and text instead of actual pixels to write out the descriptions, the text can easily be shrunk to fit larger blocks of text. I'll be doing my best to minimize the amount of text on cards using keywords as well. Now that I've talked about all of the attributes of the card, I just wanted to take some time to talk more about the design process behind the card itself. If you look closely, you can see the card has a 1 pixel thick black border, and there's a reason for that. When you print cards, the colors bleed into the edge of the card. So much like with MasterCards, I plan to keep the border of every card black to maintain a uniform edge. I also added an additional black pixel to each corner, just so it rounds out nicely. This will correspond with the actual corner of the physical card, which will also be rounded off. I also just think it looks nice. All of the text on the card has a shadow with an accompanying color to help it either contrast better with the background, or appear more seamless with the background. The wild symbol, as I previously described, is inspired by real-world hazard diamonds, commonly found on the outside of buildings containing chemicals. It also resembles the Diamond Authority symbol from Steven Universe. Behind all of the machinery and slime is the background, which is an array of rusted and worn wall tiles. These were inspired by Old Aperture from the game Portal 2. That place had the vibe I wanted to capture, and has a similar story of a place that's a bit old and used, but is still responsible for creating groundbreaking tech. Coincidentally, that location also has slime of random colors being launched onto walls, which is yet another inspiration for the colored slime on these cards. I knew I didn't want the majority of the location to be clinically clean because that's so boring to look at, honestly. This tile represents what most of the facility looks like. The different monitors have a variety of inspirations. They're a bit dirty, as you can tell, and this was inspired by both Act 3 of Inscription and this genuinely disturbing song made by Jerry Terry on YouTube, which depicts a computer leaking something. Watch at your own risk. There's a bit of Five Nights at Freddy's sister location inspiration thrown in there as well. The gray coloring of the machines is mostly inspired by Content Warning and how almost everything in the old world of that game is grayscale. I knew I wanted it to be gray anyway because I didn't want it to distract from the main important colors on the card, and I chose a darker gray than the actual color gray that's one of the 10 colors. The monitor screens are very nearly white, just so they contrast with both the symbols and the text. The symbols themselves are very much Inscription inspired. The sigils in Inscription are very satisfying to look at, and I wanted to try and replicate that feeling. I wanted the description section to generally feel like you're reading through a janky computer program or a big set of files, kinda like the terminal in Lethal Company. This is why effects are separated by dashed lines, and the effect numbers are surrounded by colons. The pixel art style plays into this aesthetic of computer program quite nicely. Finally, the scramble corner has an effect that's even more glitchy and pixelated than the rest of the card. This is once again meant to reference the process of scrambling an effect. I intentionally made the pixel glitch in this corner not shaded or outlined so it feels a little bit out of place. And I also made the breakup of the pixels irregular to add to that effect. This aspect was inspired by the minigames found in the Five Nights at Freddy's series, because the pixel art there is often not perfect, and that adds to the unnatural factor. These attributes and stuff don't cover everything. These are just the major attributes. Like, I'll obviously have to do something unique for the gold cards and the rainbow wild and stuff like that, but that's something I'll just do as I'm making the cards. Whew. All this work for one image? Well, not exactly. I have a couple dozen images that, when placed together in specific combinations, can form the vast majority of the card art for the main draw pile. I have slime in every color. I have the wild symbol and the color symbols in separate files and ready to be pasted in. I have the flex corners ready in every color. not to mention over 300 symbol sprites already made. So actually, at this point, I can start making the cards, putting the artwork together and writing the text on them and actually calling something about this project complete for once. So that's what I'm going to be doing from now until I'm done, cause you better believe this is going to be a time-consuming process. I suppose I should ask, what do you think about my card art? What do you think about my color symbols? Did I miss anything major? I'd love to hear from you in the comments because I don't want to make too much progress if the system is faulty, you know what I mean? This episode took a really long time to make because artwork takes time, so I appreciate you all being patient with me as I tackle Phase 2. It's likely I'll work on stuff I have for a while and make some actual cards until I get to the point where I need to make another one of these episodes to show you guys the next part of my process. Needless to say, it may be a while before the next Uno Amalgam upload. I've been meaning to make more community posts though, so perhaps there'll be some smaller updates there. I'm also active in the Discord server, obviously. Super special thank you goes out to the Amalgamation Donation Club, this time comprising of Super Meh, Dat Boy, Splashy Flame, It's Corinthiana, Omicromium, Elias Stenbach, Crazinator 5, Skyroll of the Stars, Fallen Angel Viox, Galigia, Yold Mate, and Chaos Murloc 93. Thank you all for your support, and thank you all for watching this video and continuing to enjoy this series despite its less frequent upload schedule. I'm glad you're all here supporting me. Making a game is a lot of work, and making a game of this scale is even more work, and I'm just one dude. I appreciate the constant support and encouragement I get in the comments section. Next episode will most likely be about the game language of chemicards, so stay tuned. Unfortunately, it is now time for me to end the video. Don't forget to let me know what you think of the card art. Subscribe to help me get to 50k subscribers and to make sure you don't miss the next episode. Like the video if you in fact liked the video. Don't eat the yellow slime, and I'll talk to you all next time.